to start. Yeshivat Hashem. Oh, what happened to everybody? Yeshivat Hashem, but oh, there you are. Okay, so we're on Parsha Shmos. You're worse than my high school kids. I have to tell you.
We're trying hard.
Yeah, thank you for bringing me back. Okay, very good. So we're into the Galus. Shmot. That's it. We're into Galut, and we're in a tkufa called Shovavim. Shovavim is the acronym of the Parshiot that start from Shmot, Bo. What is it? Vayera. Beshalach. No, Shovavim. Yitro and Mishpatim. No, yeah, Yitro and Mishpatim. And that takes us, these Parshiot, they're called Shovavim, that's the acronym of those, the first six Parshiot. It's like the descent into Galut, and they end off with the giving of the Torah, which is Geula, of course. And so this is a special time to devote. The rabbis instituted this time. Not everybody does it, but the holy rollers do, are very mindful that Mondays and Thursdays of these weeks, of these Parshiot, are days auspicious for extra davening, maybe a little bit of fasting, whatever you normally eat, try to eat a little bit less of it. I heard a takana now from the Sephardi rabbis. They said, if you can avoid meat and wine during these days, because of this tkufa, if you can take that upon yourself during Mondays and Thursdays to help out the galus that we are presently in, the galuta, those held in captivity, and very near the Egyptian border, Mitzrayim, still in Gaza. They should come home safely, and everyone, the Geula, we should experience the Geula, Shlema, that the soldiers should come home safely, finish their tasks. And we should remember all the everything that this war has awakened within us to increase our davening and increase the tefillot, masim tovim, to be bechibur, one to Hashem, be in connection with Hashem, one to the other, and that should stay with us way beyond the war. And because that, when times of peace, if we still hold on to those ideals, then we prove that it's something that we acquired. We finally got the memo. We don't have to go through any more lessons, and here we go. So, I chose to focus in this week's Parsha on the element of tefillah, and I'm going to be reading now from Perek Bet, the last 3 psukim of Perek Bet, and that's when they started screaming to Hashem, and after which things get shifted and flipped, and then Moshe is a shepherd and he sees the whole burning bush, and that's what sparks it. It's the screaming. And the screams and the tefillot go up to Shemaim that flip the story from Galut to the beginning of Geula, and it begins with prayer. So I'm going to share with you those psukim, and then I have I'm going to share with you from the Maharal and from the Kutei Halachot and a little bit from the Zohar, and to flesh out this avoda called tefillah, as it comes out from these psukim, what we learn from this, and from Ishtapchut HaNefesh, also from Rabbi Nachman. So what are the psukim? Perek Bet, pasuk Chaf Gimel. So I'm reading it's actually the last 2 psukim. No, the last 3 psukim. Vayhi vayamim harabim hahem, vayamat melech Mitzrayim, vayanchu bnei Yisrael min avodah, vayizaku vatal shavatam el Elokim min avodah. A long time passed, and the king of Egypt died. The Bnei Israel moaned because of their enslavement, and they cried. Their plea about their enslavement went up to God. Vayishma Elohim et na'akatam, vayizkor Elohim et brito, et Avraham, et Yitzchak, et Yaakov. Elohim heard their groaning, and Elohim remembered his covenant with Avraham, with Yitzchak, with Yaakov. Vayar Elohim et Bnei Israel, vayada Elohim. Elohim saw the Bnei Israel, and Elohim took knowledge of them. So it seems like self-explanatory, but there's so much to unpack here. And the question is, where do I begin? Like literally, where do I begin? Okay, because I can pull it together from all over. Let's start with the Maharal. Let's start with the Maharal, and he points out all the different ways, the languages, the lashonot, words that mean tefillah that are used in these very short three psukim. So, so the first one is in the first pasuk. After Paro dies, some say he didn't really die. He had sarat, and he proved it from psukim, but I'm not making that the focus of this shir. Okay, whether he died for real or whether it was just as if he died because he had saras. How can I not say this? And you know what he did with saras? Because he had leprosy. So the Midrashim say that he slaughtered Jewish babies and bathed in their blood because apparently human baby blood is very good to alleviate pain of saras. And it's at that point, so they moaned. That's one word meaning form of prayer. They moaned. Vayizaku, and they cried. So there's moaning and there's crying. There's anacha and there's zeaka. And then there's also vatal shavatam el Elokim, and their plea about their enslavement. So we have, what do we have? We have moaning, we have crying out, and we have pleading. And then there's a fourth language of tefillah, Vayishma Elohim et na'akatam. And Elohim heard their groaning. So there's also groans. And all of these, of course, are mentioned in the Haggadah. And so it could be another thing to add to the list of what's four in the Haggadah, Arba Miyodea. This is another one of those fours in the Haggadah. Okay. So Vayanchu, Vayizaku, Vatal Shavatam, and Nakatam. And so the Maharal says, he tries to explain to us a few things. First of all, what's the difference between each one of these two things? And how are we going to take this into our avoda, and what could it teach us? Before that, he makes a comment, Vayamat Melech Mitzrayim v'Yizaku. Paro in Mitzrayim died, and that's when they decided to scream. When he dies, and what do the Meforshim say? Why did they cry? Because they thought maybe a worse Paro is going to take his place. And he asks, what could be worse than enslaving you, throwing your babies to the Nile, slaughtering your babies and bathing in them to relieve yourself of whatever the tsaras is giving you? Why didn't you cry when that went on? Why are you crying after he dies? And what could be worse than that? Where's your crying when you were living through it? So it's an unbelievable thing that the Maharal says, Shema hamelech hachadash noheg imahem kmo hayashan, hayu neinachim v'yizaku. Aval b'melech harishon, so they're thinking, oh, now he died. Maybe a worse power will come up. But it's because he died that they had the pause because of the funeral, or because of the, I don't know, this kenes tefillah that they all got together and decided to go to the Nile. Who knows? I'm making this up. And to pray for the health of the king. Who knows? But everyone got a break from their work. Even the slaves got a break to deal with either the death or the illness of the king that was deathly. And so why didn't they cry when they were going through the thing? Because when they were enslaved, going through all of that horribleness, hayu meyuashim, they were despairing. They didn't have a break in their misery to take pause to think, I could even pray now. It was so bad. And then he explains that a person, because there was Yeush there, they were completely like despair. They were listless. They didn't even have an ability to, they were so dumbfounded by what was going on with them that they didn't realize that this is something they should be praying for. They were so down. Ala panim. So in his language, hayu meyuashim v'bedavar she'adam mityaesh lo shayach yira ve'ein anacha. someone, when there's despair that takes root in a person, there is no yira, that you're just self-focused on just survival, and you're numbed, and you can't even grow. You're just like, okay, I just have to do whatever the slave master is telling me to do. Yes.
Also, in life, we realize that the known is sometimes comforting, even if it's harsh or bad or whatever.
Better than devil
But
that
the
you know.
unknown is always scarier, it's always darker, it's always,
Yeah,
bigger, because we have
Right.
no idea what it is.
right. Except that who can be worse than Hitler? Like when you're living through Hitler, you can imagine, like if Hitler dies, you're going to think, oh, maybe someone worse than Hitler is going to come up. That's the proportions that we're talking about. This Iran, this creep that's like this, not even a human being, that's whatever there is, like the mastermind of October 7th, Simchat Torah massacre. Like, what could be worse than what we experienced on Simchat Torah? You're going to think something worse again. Oh, let him be him and not somebody worse. These are the proportions of what went on in Mitzrayim. We don't usually think of Mitzrayim like that, but really it was. All of the Guliyot together was a prototype of all of the Holocaust, all the Inquisitions, all the massacre, everything that could have. It's there. It was the model. And so what for now, like just based on what I shared now from the Maharal, what do we learn from what he just taught us? Do not be mityaesh, because as soon as Yush come, out the window goes tefillah. We're not going to be doing our part to awaken Hashem's rachamim if we're meyuash. And so if you feel Yush coming in, no matter what, if it's a personal Yush or the national scale of Yush that we're like the situation that we're going through now as a collective whole, or each one within ourselves, what we know about our life, if there's Yush, if you find an inkling of despair, know that is a very severe situation to be in. That's something to cry about. Ribono Shalom, I'm beyush. That means like I've given up hope on myself. I can't even open up my mouth to cry to you. So, okay, that's the first lesson that we take from this. But then going back to Vayanchu, Vayizaku, Vatar Shavatam, Vayishma, he says here, the Maharal, שלושה דברים שגורמים לתפילה להיכנס לפני הקדוש ברוך הוא. There are three things that allow the tefillah to enter into the Kadosh Baruch Hu. That what makes the tefillah able to be heard? What kind of tefillah? What quality of tefillah is it that actually gets heard by Hashem? And the secret to that, Ramaral says, is in these few psukim. So first of all, v'yizaku. So that's a tzaka. That's a scream. V'hatzoek mitzta'er harbe. So first of all, what you're screaming about, you have to really feel it from the bottom, from the deepest depths of your soul. It has to reach the deepest depths. It's a real heartfelt, like it's like so bad, I moved to tzaka. שהצועק מצטער הרבה, וזה נחשב לו לצערו. That I'm brought to tears, to heart palpitations, to a burning heart, to and it's coming out as a scream. That's a tefillah. Anything short of that, you're at tefillah in training, building up, but not yet the tefillah that's potent, that's going to get results in Shamayim. Second thing is, make sure that what you're screaming about really is something worthy of screaming about. That it's really something kasher. It's something really, really hard. How do we learn? Where do we learn this from? From the psukim. V'yanchu bnei Yisrael min ha'avodah. And then again it says v'yizaku v'atar shavatam Elohim min avodah, from the enslavement. They felt the enslavement. They felt all the implications of this enslavement on the gullus of their neshama, that they can't be free. They have no freedom of movement, no freedom of choice, no freedom of anything. Aside from the avodah was avodat parech, that they switched men's work with women's work with men's work, what they would do now with today, and like whatever that was. Sorry. But okay. that's another whole other set of enslavement that what our generation is going through now, the kids going to school today. And Ribono Shel Olam, something to scream about. Make sure that what you're screaming about is something worthy. Rabbi Nachman, here I'll quote now from Rabbi Nachman in Hishtapchut HaNefesh, he makes the point that there's two types of prayer. Chayei Sha'ah v'Chayei Netzach. There's a tefillah about Chayei Sha'ah. That means it's your even if you're praying for like Banei Chayei Mezoneh, about your children, about your life, your parnasa, but if it's only so that you should be a person that has children, and you're not praying that I want to serve you, and the way to serve you is by bringing further generations of Jews in the world, then if you're keeping it to Chayei Sha'ah, if all you're davening for is Chayei Sha'ah Volam Hazeh, all you're concerned about is to have a parnasa so that you can live comfortably in a comfortable home with enough room so you don't have to be cramped. If that's all you're davening for, that's Chayei Sha'ah. That's a prayer that stays down here. It's a prayer. It's good that you're addressing God. He's the address of prayer. But it's not the prayer that moves heavens and earth to bring about the change that we want to see. What's the alternative? Chayei Netzach. When we understand that our prayers is a tzorech of the neshama, is a necessity of the neshama. It's the soul's cry to Hashem for its connection to Hashem. The soul's connection. I need to feel your presence in my life because that's what spells geula. Not just to have the comforts of this world so I can pass this 120 years, whatever, in comfort and not in suffering. It's like we have to ascend beyond this world, and the tefillah has to be of such a nature. So where am I in the, okay, so first of all, it has to be a tefillah that comes from the bottom of the heart and you're shaken to your foundation and it comes out and screams. Second, make sure that what you're screaming about is worthy, is chayei, it's worthy of the attention of Hashem because you're screaming from your neshama for the sake of the neshama and for the sake of the Gilui HaShechina and for the sake of what the Geula is meant to bring to the world, which is Ol Malchut Shamayim, Beis Mikdash, Mashiach, living with a God consciousness that there should be real peace, because that's what Hashem wants, to reveal Himself with all the blessing that what it means for Hashem to reveal Himself to His creations. And then the third thing is, you don't feel. When does that type of prayer come up? When you don't feel far from Hashem. When you feel yourself good, when you feel so dependent on Hashem, there's nowhere else there's no other address for this tefillah. The Yeshua cannot come from anybody else. You are so clear on that. There's no other consideration other than Hashem. You are the address to answer all the prayers and bring all the Yeshua. And this we learn, and I'm adding in, it's not the Maharal, he's from the Pasuk, Tfilah le'ani ki yatof lifnei Hashem shipoch sicho. Tfilah le'ani, the prayer of a poor person who pours out his heart, his conversation, sichato, before Hashem's ears. He's so close, and a poor person knows he has no other resources. There's no rich uncle, there's no good looks, there's no bank account, there's nothing. A poor person knows if I don't rely on Hashem, I'm dead. That's it. There's only Hashem. It's only, I have the skin on my back, and that's it. It's only Hashem. And the Zohar HaKadosh explains this pasuk, Tfilah la'ani, in Tehillim, there's Mizmorei Tehillim, there's capital Tehillims that are prefaced by the word Tfilah. There's Tfilah LaMoshe, Tfilah LaDavi, and Tfilah la'ani. And the Zohar asks, which is the preferred prayer? Tfilah LaMoshe, Moshe's tefillah, or tefillah to David HaMelech's tefillah, or the poor person's tefillah? And what do you think the conclusion is? The poor person. Why? Because Moshe is coming with his schusim, and David HaMelech is coming with his schusim, each one in their own category of schuyot. But the ani, I know I have nothing. Now, it's interesting that David HaMelech is all of them, because all of them are mentioned in Tehillim, and he mentioned, but he understood at a certain point, despite the fact that I'm David HaMelech, I approach Hashem like an ani. There's no melech here. There's only one melech, and that's Melech Malchei Melechim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that tefillah, when you pray, when you approach Hashem like an ani, not that we want to be poor, but we have to approach with our resources, with our gifts from Hashem, with our blessings. We understand that everything is from Hashem, and everything is, I have to give thanks to Hashem, and everything is a bonus because Hashem doesn't owe me anything. And when I approach Hashem from that place, tefillah lani ki ya'atof, the poor person's prayer, otef, maze otef, otef aza. What's otef? Wraps around. Tefillah lani ki ya'atof. What does it wrap around? All of the other tefillot. The poor person, you have a whole congregation of people davening, which is the prayer that kind of okef, that maze okef, like bypassing, what envelops and wraps and goes and brings all the other tefillot of the other congregants praying all the other prayers. It's the ani in that. If you don't have an ani praying with you in that minyan, it kind of stays somewhere below. It doesn't go with that. You need somebody to have this heartfelt scream, understanding it's only you, Hashem, and I'm praying for what's really important, the safety of every Jew in Am Yisrael, the achdut of every Am Yisrael, because it's in the achdus of Am Yisrael that there's Gilui HaShechina. Gilui HaShechina means the revelation of Hashem's presence in the world, which is the purpose for which Hashem created the world. And we're praying for those things, and each one in their own sorrow, in their own, I need a shidduch, I need parnasa, I need a good home to live in. It's just all true. You have to daven for them. You have to. But understand why are you davening for them? In order to fulfill a purpose of Hashem. Not just for my comfort, not chayei sha'ah. Follow?
Yeah.
Okay. As a tefillah mekubelet, so if you have these three conditions, should we repeat these three conditions? You're screaming from the depths of your depths. You're screaming about something worthy about screaming about, and you're feeling very close to Hashem. You understand. You're clinging onto your Abba. You're screaming and holding on to him like a baby. Please. You can do this, and I'm relying on you, and I'm not leaving you go until you do this. And we're hanging on to him like a child would hang on to his father. And it's through these things that the tefillah mitkabelet. Shetzarich adam lechaven da'ato b'chol libo. B'chol libo means we're not. B'chol libo means with absolute focus. It's not like, like my teacher, Rabbi Rav Asaf Biller, he has a way of commenting on the Sidur. You know why the Sidur was called the Sidur? Because as soon as you open it up, you think of all the Sidurim that you have to do. All the Shabbat. I just heard something say, somebody just heard this story. This I don't know when. Okay, no names, but whatever. This guy in the market leaves a wallet with a Jew that he thinks trustworthy, that he's going to come back at the end of the day to collect his money. He's got a lot of money, but he figures he can rely on him. And he says, sure, I'll help you out. I'll keep your money. By the end of the day, he forgot. He left before this guy came to him for his wallet back. And when he goes at home and unpacks from the long day at market, he sees the wallet and he screams out to his wife, oh my gosh, he thinks probably now that I stole from him, he's going to find me, he's ruthless. And she says, well, hold on, is he a Jew? No, he's not a Jew. He's like, don't worry about it. He's going to forget that he gave it to you. How do you know? Because he's a goy, he doesn't have to daven mincha. So he's not going to remember. Okay. All right. Anyway, I apologize for that. Please forgive me. So this is the tefillah but it's focused prayer. When something is very pressing to you, like you can imagine parents of those hostages still in Gaza, what their prayer looks like, what it sounds like. And the call is, it's like, it's not, it's their children, it's their biological children, they raised them, but it's our children also. We have to be moved at this time to pray as if it would be our biological children over there in Gaza. And until we scream like that, our collective prayer is not what it's meant to be. Our individual and collective prayer is not meant to be. And so what do we do if it's not? Then cry that it's not. That's a Breslov thing. Please, Hashem, what's wrong with me that I'm not feeling the pain of Am Yisrael right now? Open my heart. Turn that into a prayer. And when you say that sincerely, you'll see, when you'll really mean it, that you'll see a chisaron in you. That's sorech neshama. That's chaye netzach. That's you're tapping into your neshama with that prayer. I'm praying for my neshama to be connected to all the other neshamas of Am Yisrael because we're all one structure. It looks like we're separate beings, but we're not. We're one collective ilm. And just like the body knows, if I have a paper cut on the pinky, my mind can't focus on my task. I got to deal with the paper cut. That's what it's supposed to feel like on the neshama level. What's wrong with me that I'm not praying like this? Please, Hashem, open my heart. And because that's truthful, right? That's coming from a true place. Whatever comes from a true place will bring in its wake another true statement. You'll see that the prayers will start rolling. The other words meant for the situation that we're praying for, it'll come. Another way, it's a trick. Like if I would pray, let's say we're blocked, right? It happens, we're blocked. So you could do a trick. If I would pray as if my heart is feeling it like it, what would the words be? Just bypass the brain that way. If I would have to imagine somebody really praying from the bottom of their heart, if I imagine that mother of that hostage still in Gaza, what would it sound like? And enter it. Do a hachlafat, like a transference of roles. Become that pretend person, but you're not, because it's sort of at a certain point you'll become that person. It'll become very, very real. Your heart will open. Okay. And that's, so there's 4 expressions of prayer, but he only mentioned 3. So what's the 4th? The 4th is the shomea. That what makes Hashem really, really hear, it's if you have those 3 categories. And then it's like, so it's the shmiya is really, it's Hashem's ears opening. It's not what we do, but we open up Hashem's. Okay, so now something else from the Maharal before I give you other quotes from other people. No, I'll give you now from the Zohar. The Zohar, Vatal Shavatam, their plea about their enslavement went up to God. Hamitpalel veboche v'tzoek ad sheino yachol lenanea sfatav. This is, they're giving us a visual. The Zohar is giving us a visual of what it looks like, a person who's praying such a prayer, as the Maharal explained. Hamitpalel boche, he's crying, v'tzoek, and screaming, ad sheino yachol lenanea b'sfatav, until his lips are just wavering, shaking, and not mouthing any words, just shaking. Zohi tefillah shlema. That when you get to that place of prayer, that's a complete prayer. Shlema. That's what prayer looks like. Shehi belev ve'ina chozeret rikam. Because at that point, once your lips are just quavering, that means that it's coming from the heart. And it won't be empty. Hashem won't leave you empty with that prayer. That prayer will not be a non-answered prayer. And then the Zohar quotes the pasuk from Tehillim, and they screamed out from Tehillim, Kuf Zayin, I believe, and they screamed out to Hashem in their place, their narrow, straight place, makom tsar, their constricted place, which the shoresh of Mitzrayim is makom tsar. So Mitzrayim is not just Egypt, geographically speaking, historically, whatever that was. It's every makom tsar that a person feels in their life. So when your person prayers from their constriction, from the place of constriction, he saves them from their distress. So this is another trick, actually. I didn't make it up, but I don't remember who I'm quoting here. It's, I guess, from Breslov. Because how do you open up a heart in prayer for him? Or actually, I don't know where I heard this from, but it sounds Breslovi. They screamed out to Hashem, Batzalim, from the place of constriction. Let's say we're in a time of war. We're in a time of war, and we really, really want to lend power to the Yeshua, to the salvation that we want so much, the Geulah, that we want to be part of that experience of prayer. We want to give our strength to it. We want to be part of the collective prayer because we believe in strength, also in numbers. There's individuals, tzaddikim, the prayer, but we all have to do our part from wherever they're holding. So, if let's say you don't know somebody personally that's a Nazarite, or you don't have a chayal there, a son or a daughter there, but you want to feel it as if it's your own, right? So think of your own personal mitzukah. Think of something that really is sitting heavily on your neshama, that's really hurtful to you. A relationship, if it's parnasa, if it's a relationship, any kind of confounding situation, whatever it is in your personal private life, don't ever say, my issue right now that's sitting heavy on me is less important than what's going on in Am Yisrael, because that could be the portal from your tefillah, because every person understands what's sitting on their heart, and what if it's nogea to you, if it hurts you, if it's touching you, then you're more easily can come with a prayer, with a heartfelt prayer, because you can flesh out the details of your sorrow more. You're more in touch with your own sorrow, and so go to Hashem with it. But then once you feel your heart is open and you're crying for yourself, which is a real thing, and we have to bring everything to Hashem, our life still goes on. And the private gula of every person is also the thing that's going to bring the gula to the collective. If this is what a problem Hashem is sending me now, that means that it's part of the story of Am Yisrael too. It's part of it. There's a war going on, and it's horrible, but there's also my war. And the micro reflects the macro, and the macro reflects the micro. So if we can open up our heart from our own personal place, once our heart is open with that and crying for ourselves because we understand it and we allow ourselves to go into what it means not to have this, that, and the other thing, once your heart is open, then stick, and Hashem. And Frau B'Shem Kol Yisrael. And what about that mother? What about that brother? What about this, that, and the other thing? And you just then make your prayer part of the collective. So maybe it's my chiddush, I don't know. Veitzaku el Hashem batzar lehem. You scream to Hashem from the place that's out to you, and then from that heartfelt place, then your heart is open, and then you can pray for everybody else from a very real and honest and authentic place also. What felt forced before because it wasn't your issue. Let's see, do I give you the Mea Shaloch now, or do I give you more of the Maharal? No, I'll go to the Maharal. No, Mea Shaloch is more in the theme, and then I'll go back to Maharal. So Mea Shaloch. Veizaku vatal shavatam el Elokim. So they screamed, they cried, their plea about their enslavement went up to Hashem. So on these words, V'kan itchila Yeshua. Meshach says, and that's the beginning of the salvation, when they were able to actually scream about it to Hashem. V'kan itchila Yeshua, ki ad kan lo hayta be'em shuv hitorerut lizok v'litpel, because up until then, maybe we can borrow something that what the Maral said. Why didn't they pray all of this time before Paro died? Why? Because there was so many yuash. They felt so, because the enslavement happened so incrementally, and they were so trapped into it, and they just like were like just dumb about it, just wrote about it. Oh, okay, you want me to make more bricks? I'll make more bricks. They didn't have pause. It's not so simple how I'm saying it. Paro was a taskmaster. Comes from the Kutei Moran, that Paro is ha'oref. Okay, never mind. Okay, Paro, Paro. What was the first thing he did to enslave the Jews and to prevent them from thinking of ever going free? He just loaded them up with more work. Mikot zeruach. Remember that language? Like when Moshe, the first time Moshe came to him and said, "Let my people go," he says, "Oh, you guys have too much time in your hand now. It's not only the quota of bricks, you're also going to keep the quota of bricks, and in the same amount of time, you're going to actually make the bricks." Because he saw they're already starting to think of freedom. So keep them busy, and they won't have mikot zeruach, from shortness of breath. Okay. So up until then, they didn't have the breadth of time to even consider what's going on with them, to scream and to be mitpah. And because God wanted them to save them, so he caused situations in which would actually lead them to screams. And when a person wakes up to scream to Hashem, that's the beginning of the Yeshua. In other words, in our case, Tikkun, healing, and Parsha, right? When do we know we're on a breakthrough in our problem, that we can actually start being hopeful that there's going to be a Yeshua, a salvation? When you're really doing this type of screaming type of prayer, when your situation is leading you to prayer from such a place, know that that's a chesed that Hashem sent you. It's an opening of the heart, and that's the beginning of the Yeshua. So we have to build ourselves up to get to that point. But then Rabbi Nachman says, but if you're going to go into prayer thinking, now it's going to be a heartfelt prayer, it doesn't happen. You're working under pressure, and then it's going to be a whole other mind trip. It's like, not for me, I can't do it. You have to just prayer, and don't expect the tears to come. Just keep speaking the truth, speaking from the heart, what's touching you, what's bothering you, what's really bothersome about this situation, what's really horrible about this situation. Take it to the logical conclusion of how miserable this is. We get used to misery, and we forget that it's miserable because we get used to living with misery. And we have to wake up to the fact that misery is miserable and stop getting used to it. We might get used, but don't know. Like, let's wake ourselves up from this complacency and living with what we learned to cope with. And we could, it's bad, but I'm still living my life. No, we're not meant to live our life with misery. Scream about it. And that's why David HaMelech, the Melech Shlomo, says, he quotes a pasuk from Tehillim, Baruch Elokim asher lo hesir tfilati v'chasdo meiti. Blessed be Hashem that did not remove my prayer from within me, and his righteousness is with me. You have to pray to be able to pray. David HaMelech saw Chesed Hashem, the fact that he was always able to be connected to prayer, that's a gewalt. Because that's the ultimate. Because tefillah is chibur with Hashem. Tefillah when it's real, not just lip service. Tefillah when it's real, like the type we're talking about, it's dvekas. You understand that there's only Hashem, and you're feeling that closeness. The neshama pines for reaching Hashem on the deepest of levels, which is the source of your own soul. when you reach it, when you reach prayer from that place, you're not only reaching the depths of your own soul. At that place that you're reaching the depths of your own soul, that's where Hashem is. That's the Chelek Olam Kamimah. That's the neshama. You've stripped away the nonsense and the superficial, and you've reached the essence, the neshama. There's nothing higher than prayer. If I would ask you what's higher, Torah and prayer, what would you say? Instinctively, first answer. Before you heard me speak now, what would have been your answer? Total prayer. Okay, good. So, some people would say Torah, but no, it's prayer, because Torah needs to lead us to prayer, and that's why Rabbi Nachman says you always have to turn every Torah that you learn, you have to turn it into a prayer. So the highest. Oh, now we're a group of women here. This is a Gewalt. This is from Ishtapchut Nefesh. Rabbi Nachman says, you know the whole secret? Who was higher? Who was really higher, Leah or Rachel? Leah. Because she cried. So, but Lavan thought he was tricking Yaakov by slipping in Leah there. Why? Because she's always crying. She's always crying, boo-hoo, like I'm crying, I'm praying. And he didn't value prayer. Lavan, someone like Lavan, does not value prayer. He thinks, because prayer is dealing with fantasy, it's this world. How many flock you have, how many sheep in your herd, right? How rich you are. That's Lavan. So he wanted to trick Yaakov, and he gives him Leah, but Rabbi Nachman says, but this is the highest thing that he could have given Yaakov, because he's giving him prayer. He needed to marry Leah, but when he got married to her, that first night of their marriage, where was Rachel? What does the Midrash say? Where was Rachel? Under the bed. Under the bed, giving the simanim over to Leah. Yaakov gave the simanim, gave her signs, in case there's going to be a trick. What are the signs? It's Torah. Rachel is Torah shebal peh, to Yaakov's Torah shebechtav. If you don't understand, I'm not going to go through it now. Just trust me. Rachel is Torah, she reflects. Why did Yaakov love Rachel? Because she reflected back to him all the potential that he had within him. The potential of Torah is the Torah shebal peh that comes, all the chidushei Torah. But chidushei Torah alone without prayer. I studied, my degree was in Jewish studies at McGill University, which is considered like Ivy League of Canada. Believe me, you can study Torah and be nowhere close to God. Even from people wearing kippah teaching it. It's academic. So Rachel being under the bed, giving over the simanim to Leah, you know what that is? What Rabbi Nachman says? It's Torah. What?
I don't.
It's Torah informing prayer what it needs to pray for. Rachel giving over the simanim to Leah means, and Rachel being under the bed and Leah being and coupling with Yaakov means the highest level is to bring Torah into prayer. And that's the highest level of Torah that could be. Torah that comes from a place of prayer. But it also transcends Torah, because the whole point of it, now why? Because tefillah is chibur with the Kadosh Baruch Hu's connection with Hashem. And the whole point of Torah is to bring us into connection with Hashem. Okay. Okay, now,
Can be another something.
yeah, there's more wows. There's more wows. Any questions on what I just gave over? Because like it really would make me so happy to know that you actually understood this. You're good?
I feel like the Torah is Hashem talking to us, and Hashem can do anything and can communicate through Torah. But our tikkun is to reach up to Him. So prayer is like the vav, it's like
That's right.
like He can just shower down Torah all day
Yeah,
long.
but we have to learn the Torah.
But-
We have to learn the Torah in order to know what to pray for. Because prayer without Torah, I could pray for another pair of shoes. But Torah, but tefillah that comes from Torah, I'm informed. I know what my tefillah should be. For
But
achdus, for
I
love.
feel like prayer changes us.
Yes, because
By
prayer makes it personal. If I take the Torah that I learned and I turn it into a tefillah, it becomes something that I want, becomes something so necessary for my soul. I can't live without it. I'm saying I'm just supporting what you're saying. Yeah. Follow up.
No, I'm
You're observing.
quite a visual person, so I'm just seeing I'm seeing like a flame. It feels like prayer is like the flame
flame.
trying to like
Yes,
reach up. And if
Yes.
you look at a flame, it's moving and it's
That's right.
trying and it's trying to get the oxygen and
right.
it's always like
That's
going
right.
up.
Ascending.
So like
Yeah.
it's an ascension,
And
but
it-
it
and
has to be.
I love that you're mentioning flame now, because fire is something that ascends, and the prayer and the heart has to be on fire in prayer. If the heart is not on fire, is not burning, you're not at that point. So here I'm going to give you a story a little bit. There's a story about the seraph of I have to look it up.
Just one more thing about a flame. Also, if you look at a flame, it's also contained, there's a containment. It's not just burning everywhere. There's a shape.
Yeah.
And there's it's not just
Yeah.
like without
Of a
boundaries.
candle on a wick.
I know.
If it's held
On
in
a
wick.
wick or on
I
a,
mean, a flame can be.
of course, it can be.
The one
That's what
you're
I'm seeing. I'm
describing.
seeing on a wick. I'm just
No,
saying,
you're right on. I love that you brought the visual. So now I'm gonna have a supporting story for your visual. Okay, so this is there was a tzaddik called the Seraph of Trisk. Trisk is the name of a place. So there's Trisker Hasidim, and he is Rav Uri Stelvaski, I think, or something like that. Hold on, I think I googled it today, and maybe it's still on that page. Oh, wow. Chassidut Strelisk, and his name was Rebbe Uri Mistrelisk. And this is a story about him. And what was known about him more than anything else is his prayer, that he used to scream in prayer. He used to just scream like a stream, like you heard it down a few blocks. And so one time there was someone who visited Trisk and visited the Rebbe and stayed over. And he got to the Rebbe, and he stayed there for a few days to be with the Rebbe. And Erev Shabbos, he goes to the Rebbitzin and he says, "Is it okay if hold on, I want to get it right." He goes to the Rebbitzin and she asks him, "How are you? How are you doing? How are you liking Trisk?" He says, "It's fantastic. The hospitality is great. The food is great. Everything is great. But there's only one thing. I feel the Kedusha, but there's only one thing I don't understand. Why does the Rebbe scream when he davens? In my town, everybody prays quietly. So what's with the screams?" So the Rebbitzin answers him very politely, because his heart is burning with fire. Halev shelo bo'er. And the heart of the Rebbe, soref ba'esh. That's why it's called the Saraf, from Sreifa. His heart burns with fire. And he has to scream, because that's where his prayer is coming from a burning heart. And this Jew says he didn't really take it. He kind of argued with the Rebbitzin, and he says, "My heart also burns within me. And me also, I feel like my heart is riled up when I go to prayer, but I don't scream. I pray quietly." And then she says to him, "But if the heart is on fire, a person if it's burning up, it has to scream. There's no way that the person is not going to scream. If you're not screaming, it means that your heart is cold." And then it became Erev Shabbos, and he goes to the Rebbitzin, and he entrusts his wallet full of his money with the Rebbitzin. She should keep it safe in his home. And he passes the Shabbos. And now Motzei Shabbos comes, and he goes to the Rebbitzin and says, "Can I have my wallet back?" He says, you must be like making a mistake. You must be confusing me with somebody else. You didn't leave me any wallet. He says, what do you mean I didn't leave you a wallet? I clearly came here Erev Shabbos, and I gave you, and it's all my money." And his voice starts rising, and she's telling him, "Please, like, lower your voice. Why are you screaming? Like, I'm telling you, didn't leave me your money." He says, "I left you my money." He's screaming, he's burning up. And he says, "But I don't understand why you're screaming." "I'm screaming because all that money I've had to do with the market and the Parnassa and everything else. and I want my money back. And he said, but why are you screaming? Because my heart is like burning up over what you're telling me. He says, in that case, here's your wallet. Now you see that when your heart is touched to the point of being on fire, you scream. So maybe that's another something that we can bring into our prayer. When we want our heart to open and we feel it blocked and not able and not doing what it's meant to do in prayer, call up to your memory something that drives you nuts. Think of somebody that really triggers you, pushing all your buttons. Allow it to happen. And allow the emotion to stir you up, that emotion, and then say, and then do that prayer from there, and then take it to where you want it. Because we all have those situations. It's not, a person can't say like, I don't know, prayer's not my thing. My heart's just like, it's not. No, when you're touched, you know how the heart all of a sudden starts pumping all kinds of things in all kinds of directions. The perpetuates Rav says that if you use triggers to bring you into emotions and passions. Okay, so now going back to the Maral. The question is, notice the psukim, how it says. Connected to every expression. Oh no, it's not every expression. Here, it's the last two psukim. Vayishma Elokim. Okay, Vayishma Elokim. Hashem heard their groaning at Nakatam. Vayiskor Elokim et Brito. Vayar Elokim et Bnei Israel. Vayada Elokim. What did you notice? Elokim is mentioned after every expression. There's Yishma Elokim, Yiskor Elokim, Yar Elokim, Yada Elokim. You could have just said it very shortly. Vayishma, Vayiskor, Vayara, Vayada Elokim. Like why are you dividing each one in its own category, separated by the word Elokim, and not lumping them all together? That's the question of. That's the question of the Maral. And he explains the difference between each one. And each one is a different stage of approaching to Hashem. And each one, taken alone, does its own pe'ulah, does something in Shemaim on its own. The best is for all of it. But no, if you can't do all of it, then just that little bit is also something, it's an inroad into a tefillah being heard. What's Shmiya? Hearing. Hashmiya is hasarat mechitza. If you're already heard, if you already had an audience that you're heard, that already means like one of the mechitzot between you and HaKadosh Baruch Hu has been broken. You pass through a mechitza. Doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to do anything with it, but I hear you. Does it necessarily say, if I say I hear you, does it mean that I'm going to do what you're telling me to do? Not necessarily, but I heard you. It's something. The mechitza was broken. Beyond that, beyond Shmiya is Chira, is remembering. Vayiskor Elokim. When you're remembering something, that's already more than hearing. Shelo nishkach aval ein bo shelo nishkach, because it means like it's in me. I'm retaining it. It's in my memory. It's a retained, whatever you're asking me for, it's there. I'm remembering it. But it's not how we want it. It's not what's going to make the tefillah be answered, because it's missing re'iyah and it's missing yediyah. The next thing is re'iyah, vayar Elokim. He saw. Seeing something is more intimate than remembering something, because when you see something, when it's before your eyes, it's a contact with it. It's not just like a memory that can float away or just in the present. It's in the present. It's more than a memory. There's personal contact, because I'm seeing, my eyes are in contact with what you're seeing. So the tefillah, whatever you're feeling, it's like I'm not only hearing you, but I'm seeing you. But still, it's not the ultimate because it's still something outside of the person who you're praying to. Re'iyah is bechutz. The ultimate is yediyah, veyeda Elokim, and Elokim took knowledge of them. Al davar pnimi, you only know something that you have intimate knowledge with. It's like you're into the kishkas of it. Sheyadu lo legamu, when you know something, it's part of your, it's internalized to the point that you really know it, that it's part of who you are now. Sheyadani Slim, that he knows even the secrets beyond what my eyes can see or what my ears are hearing and what my memory is hearing. It's like yediyah means it's an intimate knowledge of knowing beyond words even. Like I'm seeing you in a whole, what? It's beyond intuition. It becomes part of you. You're internalized. It's a chibur maleh. It's complete connection. Like Adam knew Chava, and they became like one flesh. It's like there's no difference between me and you anymore. Once I really know. The chibur gamur ve'en chibur yoter midyan. There's no connection more greater than yediyah. So we want our prayer to come to Hashem's, to bring ourselves to this relationship, to know Hashem, that He's so present in our life that there's no doubt in our mind who we're praying to and what we're praying about, that it's about my neshama, and my neshama is chelak eloka mimal, that there's no difference between me. And once I reach that prayer within me, then here's something else from Ishtapcha Nefesh, Rabbi Nachman says, and it connects to this week's Parsha. Unbelievable. Ve'ele Shmot b'nei Yisrael yordim Mitzrayma. Et Yaakov ishu veito bal. Now, Dina, you know what I'm going to say, right? I have a feeling Dina can finish the sentence. Ve'ele Shmot b'nei Yisrael habayim Mitzrayma. This is the beginning of the Galas. Rabbi Nachman says that there's 50 gates of tshuva. Translate that as 50 gates of prayer, because there is no prayer without tshuva. There's no tshuva without prayer. If you're doing tshuva, you're necessarily praying, because that's the chibur, that's the connection with Hashem. The tshuva, tefillah, same thing. Okay? There's 50 gates of tshuva. 50 gates of prayer. 49 is Am Yisrael's, and the 50th gate is Hashem. Where do we know this? Where do we know this? If you add up the Shmot b'nei Yisrael, you take Reuven, Shimon, Levi, you add each letter. How many letters? If you count the letters that make up the name. So Reuven is 5 letters. Aleph, Vav, Bet, Nun. Then you count Shimon, Shin. Okay. You spell out each one of the names of the Shvatim. You count them. Guess what the total is? 49. Amazing. Smart girl. 49. Okay? So what's this? So we go through Ele Shmot b'nei Yisrael. What went down to Mitzrayim? Galut HaDibur. Our speech went out the window. That what was entrapped, what was in Galus exiled was prayer. Galut HaDibur. That's why the holiday that takes us out of Mitzrayim is called Pesach, the mouth that speaks. We got our language back, our tefillah back. But Rabbi Nachman, it's incredible what he does here. Ve'ele shmot b'nei Yisrael habayim Mitzrayma. Ele shmot b'nei Yisrael hayordim. You take the sofei tavot, the last letter of each one of those words, the hey from Ele, the tav from Shmot, the yud from b'nei, the lamed from Yisrael, and the mem from habayim, and it spells out Tehillim. What that's sofei tavot, it shows up at the end of those plakim. In other words, we're going down into Galas, but at the sof, what's gonna take us out of there? Tehillim, tefillot. And
what is the word?
What is the sentence, please?
Ve'ele shmot b'nei Yisrael habayim. And these are the names of the Bnei Israel who came to Egypt. And that spells out to
unmute if you're making a comment, Dina, so we can hear you.
Okay, I think I unmuted.
You're muted now. You just muted yourself. You're unmuted, now you're muted. Unmute again, Dina.
Now I'm unmuted?
Now you're
No.
unmuted.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, that's how we know this is Geula time. We are living with Tehillim. Most women today are just, they're living with Tehillim.
Right.
It's like day and night, and that's what there is. And the words are so, they're speaking about today. There's every single
Tehillim, all of
one.
a sudden
The
is
one you
about-
did, 124, it's,
Right. Mind blowing.
and today's
Right.
was all about Mitzrayim, going down to Mitzrayim, getting out of Mitzrayim, the Tehillim for today.
That's it. So the way,
Unbelievable.
and we're living through Mitzrayim. This is, I mean, this war is
Mamash, mamash.
okay. And we want to see the Gula. So ve'el shmot b'nei Israel habayim sofei tovat Tehillim. And then the rest of the pasuk is Mitzrayma et Yaakov ishu veito, which means who came to Egypt, each man with his household who came with Yaakov. That's the full pasuk. So you take the hey from Mitzrayma, the tav from et, the vet from Yaakov, the shin from ish, and the vav from beito, and it spells out tshuva. So the whole pasuk, if you look at the last letters of each one of those words, you get Tehillim and tshuva. What's going to bring us to Geula? Tehillim and tshuva, prayer and tshuva. That's it. What time is it?
What sentence was that?
It's the first pasuk of the whole chumash, of this chumash. ואלה שמות בני ישראל הבאים מצרימה את יעקב איש וביתו באו. Okay, so it's 10 past already, and I had more to give you, but I guess I'm gonna have to stop. But there's I forgot to say, what's the 50th gate? Shuva elai v'ashuva elechem. The 50th gate is Hashem returning to us. That's why after Mitzrayim we had 49 days of Sfirat HaOmer, connected 49 Sharei Tshuva, and connected all of Am Yisrael. But once we got to Har Sinai, Vayered Hashem ala har. Then Hashem descended upon the mountain. He returns to us. We do our part, and then bang, there's revelation, then there's Achdus, and there's Dvekus. That Hashem, we should bring us ourselves to prayer. I know to pray B'Shem Kol Yisrael and maybe succeed in praying from the heart and bringing about the Geulah and shaking heaven and earth. B'ezrat Hashem. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Amazing lesson. Chock full of amazing things.
Thank you. Stay for Sheva Chaya's. Come back for Sheva Chaya's